Now, we will do some enumeration. We already have a vulnerable parameter from our previous scans, and that is cat. So the cat or category is our vulnerable parameter, and we are using 5 threads for faster results. Suppose we want to find the current user, we will use the current user parameter or switch in SQLMAP. And let's also use the current DB to find the current database. Let's also find the host name. And also use the batch command for the default options. So, we have SQLMAP, and this is our vulnerable URL with the parameter. And 5 threads, we are finding the current user, current database, and hostname with batch for automation. Let's press enter and see what happens. Alright, so let's see our results. The current user is aQuart at localhost. The current database is aQuart. The hostname is IP 10.00.222. So that was some basic enumeration. We found the current user, current database, and hostname. But this was information about the current databases and so on. If we want to find all the databases, we will use the dbs command or the dbs parameter. So let's remove all of these and just use the --dbs. Also use batch and press enter. Okay, so we have found 2 databases. First one is aQuart and the second one is information schema. The information schema database is not very useful to us, because it has information related to the structure of the database. It is pre-made by the database management system. But the aQuart database is created by the users. Now we have found our target database. So next we will find all the tables present in this database. To do this, let's select the database that we want to look for, with the -D command, and then the name of the database, which was aQuart. And since we want tables, we will use the --table switch. So 5 threads, the database aQuart, and we want to find the tables. Press enter and let's see the results. So we have found that there are 8 tables inside the aQuart database. Artists, carts, categories, featured, guestbook, pictures, products, and users. Looking into the tables, the user table is peculiarly interesting, so let's see the data inside the users table. So now we have our database and the target tables. So let's select with capital T users and --dump. The dump switch is used for dumping all the data present inside the users table, which we selected with -T, inside the database aQuart, which we selected with D. Let's press enter and see what is present inside the users table. Fetching columns for users. Fetching entries. and recognized possible passwords. And it asks, do you want to store hashes? Let's enter no. Do you want to crack them? Let's enter no for now. Alright, so the data inside the users table has been dumped out by SQLMAP. We can see a credit card, cart, name, password, email, phone, test, and so on. This is how you dump data from a table. So we have found the username and password, which are both test. Let's open the vulnerable website and go to login.php and enter these credentials that we just found through SQLMAP, the username and password of test. Let's log in. Alright, so we can see that those credentials were correct. Now suppose we want to find out what kind of values and what data types are being stored in each column. We can do this by entering the -- columns switch. So we want to find the columns inside the table users of the database A-Quart. Let's press enter. We can find all the columns and their data types inside the targeted table. All of this information can help you enhance your report, further your investigation, or tests. Now suppose if you had found a database, and you want to see the contents of all the tables. Then we will use the dump all switch. Let's remove the target table because we want to find the content of all the tables, not just one table. This dump all command will dump all the contents of all the tables in the targeted database. Let's press enter. Alright, we can see the pictures table, which has 7 entries, and there is information about pictures, their description, and so on. We have a products table. And then we have a carts table and artists. And a featured table and categories. And then a guest book table. And finally, it's looking for the data inside users, which we already have found. Now SQLMAP is storing all the data for each table in separate files, as we can see here. Although we can dump all the data in all tables, you should be careful while using the dump all switch because if the database is so large then it will take a lot of time. Also, it will be very noisy on the server side, so it is recommended that you use specific tables for dumping, and not just all the tables. Now let's see how we can use the results from SQLMAP into a specific directory. Suppose we have a vulnerable website, which we have been using previously, and we do not know about the possible vulnerable parameters. so we are using crawl with a depth of 3. Then we will use the -- output dir, which means output directory. And suppose we are saving it in the current directory, and inside the test SQLMAP folder. We are also using the batch switch for automatically selecting the default answers. So the output dir command is used to save the results to a custom directory. Let's press enter. It will take some time, because we are crawling with a depth of 3. Alright, so the testing has completed. Let's see the folders, with the lsl command, and you can see that there is a folder, test SQLMAP. Let's get into it. You can see that there are different folders and files. One with the name of the target URL website. And then this one. And then this one. Let's cat the results, .csv. Alright, so we can see the target URL, place, parameter, technique, and notes. Let's get inside this folder. We have a target.txt file, and session.sqlite, and log. Let's cat it one by one, starting with log. So in the log, all the information about the parameters, the type, payloads have been stored. And inside the session.sqlite, let's see what is present. This was basically a SQLite file. We cannot open it like plain text. Then there is a session.sqlite file, and then a target.txt. Let's see the target.txt. So this file has information about the target, and the command that he used. Alright, so this is how we can use the output dir switch for saving our results into our custom directory. Headers. Now sometimes the application or target that we are testing requires some specific headers in the request from SQLMAP. So we can use the header switch for adding those headers. This can be used like this. SQLMAP, then the URL, crawl of 3, headers, equal, and then inside this string. Header, and then the value of the header. In this example, I have added the referrer header and set the verbosity level to 4 so that I can see the referrer and the request. Let's press enter. So here we can see that the referrer, abc.com, has been added in the requests. This can also be used for bypassing the web application firewalls and other restrictions which are not possible without those headers. We can also add cookies if the website is using cookies, and without which the request is cancelled. Now sometimes the target that we are testing uses a firewall which can block our requests. By identifying the default user agents used by SQLMAP, we can bypass them by adding our custom user agent using the user agent switch, and then the value of the user agent. And let's set our verbosity level to 4 and use batch. Let's see what happens in the requests. We can see that the user agent is not the custom SQL map user agent, but the new one that we just added. This is how we can add a user agent that is not well known to the defender side on the target, so they cannot be blocked. SQLMAP already has some switches for adding custom user agents. For example, if we want the request to appear from our mobiles, then we can use the -- mobile switch with crawling. Let's switch our verbosity to 4 and use batch. Let's see which user agent is being used and the requests. We can see that the user agent is Mozilla iPhone OS, so this is one way to use mobile or any other user agent to bypass the firewalls. Let's run again, but this time, let's remove the batch switch. So now it is asking us which iPhone to use. Previously we were using the batch switch, which was automatically selecting the smartphone. Now it is asking us. So let's select option 3, Google Nexus 7, and press enter, and then no. So you can see that now the user agent is Nexus 7. Sometimes when we are attacking or testing for some target, they are blocking our requests. Same for SQL Map, by identifying some keywords. We can bypass those by using tampers. Let's first type SQL Map, and then list tampers command, to see the list of the tampers present. Okay, so there are a lot of available tamper scripts that we can use. Zero Union, for example. Or blue code, which replaces the space character after SQL statement with a valid random playing character. Afterwards replace character equal with operator. And then char encode. This tamper URL encodes all the characters in a given payload, not processing already encoded. Alright, so we can see that there are a lot of tampers that we can use to bypass the firewalls, or any other instructions, or checks that are used by our target application. Now let's use one of these tampers. Let's for example use the base 64 encode. Let's copy it from here. And crawl 3 -- tamper equal base 64 encode. In order to see, let's increase the verbosity to 3 and use batch as well. Loading tamper module, base 64 encode. Alright, so let's see. We have the payload here. So in this way we can use any tamper in order to bypass firewalls.